How are you?
I am very well, Sefi. It's great to meet you.
It's really great to meet you. Where are you calling from today?
I'm calling from Brooklyn, New York.
It's great to meet you, and thank you for doing this recorded Zoom. I thought it would be a great opportunity just to say hi and meet, after working together. Great
Indeed.
songs,
Thank you,
really
sir.
great songs. So tell me, so this song is Locker.
Yes,
Tell me a bit about the song, a bit about the writing process, a bit about yourself as a musician.
you got it. You got it. You got it. It's with an artist called Georgie Najar.
Mhm.
And I met Georgie a few years ago, and she was really my intro into sort of this role as a producer. I kind of connected with Georgie, and she had a couple of songs and needed some help just making them accessible. And she had ideas, but they were she was a 16-year-old kid, and so didn't quite have the understanding of what it means to write a song. And so then I started working with her on her songs, and we really got some great collaboration and some great traction. And so then Locker was the third song that we worked on, and this was the first one that I wrote sort of soup to nuts for her. And I was thinking, my kids were just starting middle school and they were like obsessed with going to Target to buy stuff for their locker. And Georgie was heading to boarding school. And so I was trying to get into the mind of a 16-year-old girl on her way to boarding school. And I kind of thought about the locker as this like nice metaphor for it's like a mile marker. It represents who you are, even though you're not there. And I thought
Yeah,
I could get some
yeah.
emotional quality and some nostalgia around that. And so, I just sort of that first lyric, did you walk by my locker and whisper my name? Did you see any others doing the same? Like to me, that just kind of came out, and I was like, okay, I've got, there's some room here.
Well, the
Um,
Locker is a seminal thing, in the fact that it's a small territory that a youngster has where they can keep their stuff, right?
Yeah, and it represents them. You open it up and it's got their stuff on the inside, and then on the outside, when people walk by, they're like, "Oh, it's like, it's a mile marker."
Michael Bublé told me a story about a locker once that stuck with me. He said that when he was in high school, there was the prettiest girl that he really fancied. Opened her locker and there was a picture of a pop star in it, and she was kissing the poster. And he said, "I want to be the guy."
That guy.
That
Yeah, totally,
that
totally.
was his inspiration to be the
Well,
poster inside the locker of the teenager that gets kissed. I think he's pulled a pretty good job of it.
yeah, I think he's done pretty. I bet he's in a couple lockers.
Yes, yes, he is a
Um,
lot of not only of teenagers, not only of 16-year-olds, by the way, the
yeah,
older
for
demographic
sure.
like him as well. 30.
Um, yeah, and from a songwriting perspective, I wanted I wanted something, it was kind of my first song that I was putting, that I knew I was going to be putting out into the world. And so I wanted there to be, you know, some not complex, but some interesting chords and forms and harmonies and but still it's still for a 16-year-old kid. And so you got to like keep sort of that Gen Pop accessibility to it, but just with a little tinge of like, okay, there's a diminished chord. I get
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah. No, beautiful writing, and she's a great vocalist as well.
Yeah, she is. And she's come a really, really, really long way. She's putting a lot of work in.
How old's she now?
She's 17 now.
Okay, great, great
Yeah.
stuff. So, as what are the plans for the release of Locker?
So she's had I think four releases to date. Locker I think is coming out over the next couple of weeks. There's a music video, there's some press, there's some editorial, a playlist, the
Definitely.
whole yeah, the whole run. And we had a great gig over the summer in Milwaukee at Milwaukee Summerfest, which was a massive, massive stage. We've like played a couple of gigs in small, clubs in New York, and then we were on stage in front of thousands of people in Milwaukee. It was kind of up against John Oates was on the stage next to us, so that felt pretty cool.
Wow. Awesome. So, I'm curious, what did you start? What was the instrument that you started with? Was this a guitar song?
Yeah, it started on guitar, just kind of like I mentioned, just kind of okay, I'm going to write a song. I'm going to write a song now. And I sat down and, just usually start with C, and it just kind of went, C to E minor, and then it just kind of developed like that. Um, I think we tried it in a couple different keys. I think my vocal range and Georgie's vocal range are very different. So, I write here and then we kind of transpose it. I think in the session I looked yesterday, there's still some tellies that have been like pitched up, four semitones from that original process. But yeah, so then I sat down and I wrote it with most of the lyrics kind of came out at least conceptually there. And then I would bring it up to her apartment in New York City and we would kind of go back and forth and I'd capture her vocal, bring my Apollo with me and the SM7B and capture her vocal and my acoustic guitar. And then I would come home and kind of build around it and then go back and forth. We did that quite a few times, building up the track. And then when it was time to cut the vocals, we would go to Jungle Studios in Manhattan, which is a great studio. Work with a great engineer, Lou Caro. And then we captured the vocals for real with a amazing mic and in a beautifully treated room. And then I bring it back and cover it with 35,000 more guitar tracks, and then I send it to you, and you have to thin it out and make sense out of it all.
So let's have a listen to a chorus, to a rough mix, a chorus of the rough mix you sent, and then we'll toggle that with a final mix.
Oh, that sounds great.
What a great song.
What a striking difference that your mix sounds compared to mine.
Well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, yeah, indeed. I mean, it's remarkable just the the brightness of your mix was so immediately apparent, as well as the definition on the bottom. And just all the mumble in the middle was gone. I think a lot of what, I went back and kind of looked at our thread in preparation for this, and there was a lot of Prophet and other synths just sort of arpeggiating along the way in that chorus, just because as you're writing, you're trying to like, you're exploring textures and trying to find these sounds, but then once you have a song that's this big, full of all of those sounds, you don't need all those initial things that you put in. Um, and
Well,
I
it's a
think it was
question of what works, right?
yeah,
We experiment with stuff. You sometimes you have an instrument that gets in the way of something trivial like the vocals, so it needs to go out and make space for the important stuff.
yeah, for sure. And I think, the way that I typically, I'll guitar parts I'll always do too, so that we've got, a nice stereo and I've got a nice assortment of guitars, all with a slightly different sound. And so then and then by the time I like come out of it and I've realized oh my God, I've just recorded 18 tracks of guitar. And in that moment, you don't always have the perspective to be able to make that decision around what's in the way because you're just in it. So I
Yes,
think the
absolutely.
process really lends itself to an outside pair of ears who didn't play that guitar part, who has no emotional attachment
Fresh
to it.
perspective. Fresh
And
perspective.
yeah,
Well, I'm a great believer in that perspective. I often, find it hard to mix tracks that I've worked on, that
right.
I've written, and so sometimes I have to. But what I do is I will definitely leave it for a while, go
Mm.
back, come back with a fresh perspective. I think it was Heraclitus, 500 BC in Greece, that said, "No man walks into the same river twice because it's a different man and a different river." So I kind of like to do the Heraclitus thing of leaving it. And then it's a different song and it's a different me, and and time has elapsed, and you come with fresh perspective, and you can.
Yeah, I like that.
But with when you can get someone else to bounce ideas off and do a reality check on the song, then that's definitely helpful.
Yeah.
So Locker is coming out when? What's the release date?
I believe it is either next Friday or the Friday after. I think, yeah, just like late August, early September. The good
Wonderful.
old back to school hit single, hopefully.
Yes, yes. Fantastic. So thank you so much for sending it over, and I really enjoy working with you on your songs. Looking forward to more.
Likewise, Sefi. And can I just ask you a question? What is it like for you when you don't know me from Adam? I get a ping, you get a ping on the website, and then the next thing you know, you've got, you know, 200 files. Can you help me understand what your process is? Do
Sure.
you load it all in, and what's your
I
like,
load it all in. I am very. I have a system, as you saw, the colorful screen. That's drums are always green, guitars are always red, synths are always yellow. Female vocals are pink. Male vocals are blue. Sorry for the gender stereotypes. And then it's okay. I know what's what just by looking at it, and then I the different parts of the song, intro, verse, pre-chorus, chorus, and then I have a map of the song that's kind of both vertical and horizontal, and I'm kind of able to see what's there, and then I start um, tidying stuff up, locking it to the grid. So aligning the drums, aligning guitars, aligning backing vocals, making sure everything's in tune. That's 50% of the
yeah,
mix for me. The
yeah,
mix prep, when everything is in tune and everything is aligned, suddenly it's a lot easier to mix because things are, when let's say something's out of tune, then it's taking, from a spectral perspective, it's taking more space because
yeah,
it's not, it's supposed to be, that note is supposed to sit with the bass and the guitar that are doing the note there, but it's not. So it's suddenly it's more cluttered. So that is 50% of the work is getting everything aligned, tuned, sitting nicely, and then from there on it becomes a matter of taste. Okay, what is this song? Where is it going? What do we want to convey? What's the production language that we're using? Is it rock? Is it hip hop? Is it pop? Okay, then it needs to be more this. It needs to be more that. And some One of the things that's really, really, really important for me, especially since it's a remote process,
hmm
it's a collaborative process that everyone's on board with. Um, we all have musician friends and I'm sure you've seen this a million times, where before they play you a song, they say, "I want to play you something," but
but
there is a list of caveats before they press play of, "Oh, but the guitars aren't finished, and I want to redo this." My ethos is press play with no apologies. Bring it to a point where it's like, this is a song, I made it, and I'm proud of it, and it's great. So it's about getting it to that where both sides feel the same way about the song, and that takes a lot of listening, not only to the song but to the people that you're working
yeah,
with. Sometimes you'll present an idea and they don't like it, and you have to say, okay, that's cool, and offer something else or listen to what it is that they want instead of that thing. So it's the collaborative element of it is very important to me because um, that's what makes it easy. easier is when everyone's on board, when everyone feels that we can talk about the song in a kind of we kind of plural kind of thing, and everyone's on board with the final result, and everyone feels good about the final result, and about the process as well. It's about, I think, I like to work with. This is going to be sound very much stating the obvious, but I like to work with nice people. I like to work with.
Hmm.
I like to feel good about the process while I'm doing it, and make other people feel good about the
Yeah.
process, because it's a fun thing. We're doing a labor of love and art, and so it's supposed to be a positive experience. That I think that transfers into the music.
It does, and I can tell you from my perspective, I remember listening back to one of the like, probably the first or the second rough that you sent back, and my music had never sounded that good ever before. And I think I was able to express that gratitude and then give like, a punch list of things that needed to happen. But, you know, that wasn't lost on me throughout this process and understanding the years and the technicality and the craftsmanship that you bring to it. That's something that I don't have. And so
Thank
to
you
be
so.
able to have access to you and to that is amazing. And it's not lost on me that if it were left up to me, it would sound like that muddy version that you played, you played at the beginning.
Well, that's very kind of you to say, and this is probably a good time to say to anyone else watching, if you want your songs to shine, please send them over. There's a link in the bio. I'll be happy to mix, master them, produce if you need, and get your songs, release ready.
Let's go.
Justin, thank you so much for your time today, and good luck with the release. And let's make more music.
Let's do it. Thank you, Sefi. Thanks for bringing me on.
Pleasure. Take care.
Bye.
I'm going to pause the recording now, end the recording now.